And Brian David-Marshall with you, taking a look here from the floor of Pro Tour Theros at the Magic Top 25 Pro Rankings. BDM, first of all, what are the rankings?
So the Pro Rankings are a way at looking at the most two current seasons of Magic. Results from last year's season, you know, the previous season, 2012, 2013 season, and the results from the 2013, 2014 season.
Okay.
They combine the players' pro points accumulated over those 2 years, and then decay the points from last year based on how far we are into this year.
Okay.
So if we're at 10% into this year, we would decay 10%. And you had 70 points last year. You would have
63.
You would have 63 points from last year. So it's the thing. And as we move through the year, those points from last season will decay. The points from this year will go, in at 100%. And then at the end of the year, when 100% of this season is in, 100% of last season will have decayed, and we will have a top 25 list that perfectly aligns with the Player of the Year race.
All right.
And we'll have our Player of the Year and our #1 ranked player, and then we'll go into the following year.
All right. So, lots of pro points on offer this weekend, because even if you just play and don't win a match, you're going to get 3 points. So that's, 300 players getting 3 points each. 900 pro points is a lot in terms of percentage of the whole year.
The bottom 10 or 15 players on this list will very likely look radically different come Monday morning.
Absolutely.
Or Wednesday when it gets revealed on dailymtg.com.
Absolutely. Look out for that. So here are the top 25 coming in right now. Let's take a look. First of all, here's your full list. So just play a game at home. How many of those players' names do you recognize? Would you be able to say, oh yeah, I know him, he ... did something, I watched him on something, he won such and such, my brother faced him at some GP that he went on to win. How many of those 25 could you say something about, I wonder? I mean, you and I can't really play this, because if we can't do 25, we're in the wrong business. But I would
imagine for most players sitting at home, maybe Li Shitian may have escaped their notice, despite the fact that he has a Pro Tour top 8 last season.
Indeed.
Or Su Ching Kuo, maybe just sort of like outside of their circle of normal event coverage, a World Magic Cup champion.
All right, why don't we see what some of these people have been up to, and we will work our way down. So we begin with the #1 ranked Magic Pro. It is Josh Utter-Leyton of the United States.
Josh is a machine, and this is someone who's still 5 years away from Hall of Fame eligibility.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he won't be eligible for I think 4 or 5 more seasons. But I mean, he's a ways away. He is the only person in his class, who sort of accumulated the necessary points, and he's a monster. And by the time that Hall of Fame ceremony comes around, he could have a resume that looks very similar to Paulo Vitor Damadarossa's.
With the sort of 8 and 9 Pro Tour
7,
top
8, 9 top 8s.
Yeah. And of course, and
a dedication, right? Like a dedication to playing Magic. When the Channel Fireball team talks about Josh Utter-Leyton, they're like, okay, he wakes up, he has breakfast, maybe he brushes his teeth, and then he starts playing Magic. Sometimes he starts playing Magic and then remembers he has to brush his teeth.
Sure.
But he just starts playing Magic, and he just plays Magic for 12 hours.
Yeah, and one of the things that leads to, something that I know they value very highly, we talk a lot, sentences of Ben Stark Limited. We don't often say the sentence Josh Utter-Leyton constructed in quite the same way.
Sure.
But certainly this weekend is a litmus test, because Josh is largely responsible for the deck, which we won't reveal right now, but the deck that Channel Fireball are kind of coming with this weekend. And I think they're close to uniform in playing it. They may even be all of them on the same deck.
Which, even though we've seen the Channel Fireball deck, we haven't seen that kind of total lockstep. Also, just as an aside on Channel Fireball, Josh Utter-Leyton, obviously brings this great, play testing regiment, I should say, and this great, Ben Stark brings this just incredibly intuitive grasp of limited. A subtle addition to the team for this event that may have slipped people's notice is Frank Karsten, Pro Tour Hall of Famer Frank Karsten.
Yeah.
And Frank Karsten brings to that team rigor.
Yes. Yeah,
he brings a little intellectual rigor to them. Not to diminish anything, but those guys are all so confident in their abilities, in their intuition, in their reflexes. Frank's like, well, I think you guys are probably right, but I'd just like to do some math in check.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Can we see?
Did you see Brian Kibler's tweet about they've decided they're all going to go home and just have Frank simulate the Pro Tour? You hadn't seen that one?
No, I did not.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So as we go through the Channel Fireball players on this list, I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a little extra pep in their step this event.
Okay.
And if so, that may be somewhat due to Frank.
Okay, well, let's see if there are any more Channel Fireball people on the list.
Maybe.
Like, oh, look, here's number 2. It's from Channel Fireball. He's a Platinum Pro. It's Ben Stark. 61 Pro points last season, already 27 this. His 4 Pro Tour top 8s. And I have to be honest, I felt a bit ashamed of myself in Paris 2011 because the fact that all the Fireballs were on Core Blade, basically, a lot of them, Ben Stark was the one who I was like, well, I've done the maths and there are 13 rounds of constructed and 6 rounds of limited and you're the limited guy, so presumably it's the other ones who are going to win.
Right.
And so then when Ben just monstered his way through everything with absolute precision and dominance, it was like, yep, I learned something today.
So, I mean, if you saw the Hall of Fame induction ceremony we did, we produced these little videos where some of the players talk about the different players. And Josh Utter-Layton spoke to Ben Stark, his prowess as a constructed player. He's like, look, he's not the guy who goes out and builds the deck, right? I mean, that's not really what he does. He'll have some ideas, but I mean, he steps back, he's going to draft, he's going to work out pick orders with Frank, you know what I mean? He's going to do his thing. But give him a deck, put him in a situation, and in game, he's as technically excellent as he is with 40-card decks. I mean, he's got top 8s in 3 Pro Tours in his career where he's had to play constructed.
Sure.
3 of his 4 top 8s are constructed top 8s. So, it's almost like we do him a disservice by talking about how good he is at limited because he is a remarkable constructed player in game.
But you can't help it when he's one of the top 5 limited players of all time.
And
something like that.
He's gonna be having a birthday, I think, tomorrow.
Isn't he 30? It's the big 3-0 for Ben. Well, here's someone who is not quite half a lifetime away from 30, but heading that way. Here's the 19-year-old who is your reigning Magic the Gathering
World
World Champion.
Yet? He hasn't turned 20 since Amsterdam?
No, 1-9, 19, yeah. Shahar Shenhar, no wonder he's smiling. 53 Pro points last season, 30 this already. And then what is that about? No Pro Tour top 8s?
Yeah.
Pardon?
He's number 3 on that list as well. It's the player, 3rd most lifetime Pro points at this Pro Tour.
Without
a
the top 8, right?
Without a top 8. Again, we talked about this a little bit in the preview for this. This is a guy who compares very favorably to Kai Buddha. 3 Grand Prix wins. 3 Grand Prix wins as a teenager before he ever gets a Pro Tour top 8. Kai's first win at above Grand Prix level, World Championships.
Sure. Yeah,
So,
that's very true.
So they to me, very comparable. And I'm so impressed. I mean, as amazing a Magic player as Shahar is, you can't talk about him and not mention what a remarkably composed, just pleasant person he is. I think that there's this almost like stigma from the old days of the Pro Tour, maybe that some of the younger players would be a little brash and a little cocky, and that may or may not have been true, but I think some people have that perception. If you ever want to dispel that notion, just spend a little time around Shahar Shenhar, who has every right to be the most arrogant jerk in the room.
Sure, or Matt Costa.
Right.
Or
Reed
Duke.
Yes, absolutely.
It really is a myth now.
Yes,
It is
yeah, it really
not
is.
the cocky kid ruling the roost.
Yeah.
It really isn't. They're just super nice guys. He's number 3. And now we go very international. Shahar, of course, sort of dual nationality, Israeli and United States. But Yuya Watanabe, I don't think
Love
he
that
is
picture.
dual. Yeah, I don't think he's dual Japanese-Israeli status. I think he's straightforwardly from Japan and already a 2-time Player of the Year, 2009, 2012.
Already has 17 pro points this season.
Yeah, just quietly by not doing very much.
Does he keep them buried in his yard in a mason jar?
Something like that, I think. You see the 2012 Player of the Year, that's because he won the Players' Championship, which is now the World Championship, the individual.
Came very, very close to being a 3-time Player of the Year.
Yeah, he
He came down to the last rounds of Pro Tour Dragon's Maze.
Absolutely. I mean, even with sort of 4 rounds to go, it looked like he could do it. And then when Josh finally ends up, overtaking him by making a deeper run. But, I mean, he's such a great player.
Yeah, terrific. I mean, and has accomplished a lot. He also has a Rookie of the Year title, right? Worth remembering.
Sure, of course.
2007.
Uh-huh. Yep. So that's
another player who, by the way, is years away from Hall of Fame eligibility.
Yeah, he's
4 years away.
Still 4, good grief. Okay. Now here's a man who presumably is about 15 years away from Hall of Fame eligibility because he's still only 12, as you can see there. It's Reed Duke. He's not actually 12, by the way, don't worry. Platinum Pro, of course, and huge emotion in the feature match area. We talked about this when the Hall of Famers came in BDM earlier this morning. Talked with Billy Jensen about how thrilled he was when Reed made Platinum in the last round of the last Pro Tour of the season. Just a huge emotional load, and Reed was super emotional.
Both players have both Reed and Billy have been influences on one another. I feel like Reed offers Billy this connection to the next generation of Magic players and someone who is as passionate about being great at this game as Billy is.
There's someone else on this list who sort of forms a sort of triangle in there, which is Owen Turtenwald. Those 3, because the 3 of them together took down a team event earlier this year.
Right.
And just a terrific, I mean, I wouldn't want to play any of them, but the 3 of them together.
Right. So we're in this, and Reed, of course, is with Team Star City Games. Mm-hmm. A super team, made up 15 players, 12 of them with Pro Tour top 8s. Reed's one of the slackers on that team. He doesn't have a Pro Tour top 8 yet.
I'm amazed they let him in, really.
He's the 4th most pro points at this event without a Pro Tour top 8.
Okay.
Would you be willing? We talked about imaginary wagers.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to wager some sort of wardrobe bet that he does not have a top 8 when the season concludes?
No, he's obviously going to. I mean, logically he will. I mean, you can make a case for saying that in any given weekend on any given random format, he may be the best player in the world.
Right. Does well at Limited, does well at Legacy, does well at Standard, Team Limited, Modern. He's the whole package. Okay. Well,
here's someone who sort of had a career of 2 parts. Number 6 on our ranking list is Willie Adel of Brazil, and he has absolutely burst onto the scene. Twice runner-up at Pro Tours in 2007. Goes away from the game. His wife's ill. Life's not super for him. He gets his life together, gets his business together. Home life, comes back, starts being awesome again.
So interesting, people were joking about the banners we had set up for the Hall of Fame.
All right.
And how Ben Stark's photo on the banner, he bears a somewhat
American Willie Adel
passing resemblance to Willie Adel. They look a little like each other, and they were teasing Ben that they got the wrong picture up there. But
okay.
There's also a resemblance in terms of that career in 2 parts.
Yeah.
Right. That idea of being away from the game and you're never away from the game, right?
Nope.
Ben was not away from the game. He was playing Magic Online all the time. Willie, I'm sure, is playing locally, playing on Magic Online, a very active player on Magic Online. But that time away from the Pro Tour seems to have sharpened his senses and also heightened his emotions about the Pro Tour. We've talked to him a couple times at these last few events, and he is deeply, deeply emotional about what it means to be on the Pro Tour, what it means to do well. You get a real sense of what it would mean for him. He's someone who was on that short list for the Hall of Fame this year for a lot of voters. He was certainly right in the mix on my ballot. I think I had him toggling between 6th and 7th on my ballot this year. He's certainly going to be right there, if not closer, next year, depending on how this goes. and just, you know, it's been really good to have him back, and really interesting to see that, you know, it's like, oh, that wasn't just some flash in the pan 2 Pro Tours you did well at, you know. No. He's able to put together that kind of career that, you know, makes him stand out from the rest of the pack of pros.
Indeed. Let's take you back to Japan for our 7-ranked Magic Pro. Number 7 is Shuhei Nakamura, and the 2008 Player of the Year. 22 Grand Prix top 8s, 5 Pro Tour top 8s. Came closest Columbus 2004. I think Pierre Canali won that one.
Yes, he did.
That was extended?
Yeah, it was extended.
That's right. Affinity.
It was Affinity.
Yeah, okay.
Our second Hall of Famer on this list right now. Shuhei Nakamura, of course, elected on his first ballot.
For sure, as you would expect. Now, he actually went up to 7, overtaking our next gentleman, which is Tom Martell of the United States. Tom Martell is now 8th, and that's because Shuhei made the top 16 of the Grand Prix last weekend. Remember, what happens is every major Premier event, Grand Prix, Pro Tour, it counts towards these rankings over the 2 seasons. So let's take a look at Tom Martell. That's Shuhei Nakamura, number 7. Here's Tom, a Pro Tour champion, and that was a culmination of an incredible journey for him.
Yeah, he's someone who's he's been at this for a long time, and he has figured it out. Right? He has just solved it. I mean, it's hard sometimes to give credit to people you've known for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, you want to give them a little bit of a hard time, and I've given Tom a hard time occasionally as someone I've known. But honestly, he's just at the top of his game. You know, people give Tom a little bit of a hard time for his so-called humble brags. You know, where he'll comment on a situation or compliment someone in a way that reflects back on him positively.
Sure.
And he's sort of a master at it. And one of the clips we didn't use in the Hall of Fame video is he was talking about like Luis Scott Vargas's 3-year median, and he's like, you know, and Luis almost has one of the best 3-year medians of all time.
Yeah, and yet you didn't put the clip in. I'm truly astonished.
And Tom, of course, has just been on an incredible roll where he's got like a 3-year median right now that's somewhere around 11.5 or 12.
Yeah, and by that we mean, on average, in the last 3 years, he's finished in the top 16 of the Pro Tour. He's that good.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Just historically top-line numbers. Someone who I think will also be, you know, in the Hall of Fame discussion come next year.
Someone else who's Hall of Fame worthy and discussable, certainly, Mr. Eric Froelich of the United States. There he is, our number 9 right now. 65 points last year, 8 so far. This pretty quiet year so far. And that 3rd Player of the Year for last season is the thing that really sticks out to me for Eric.
Yeah, no, Eric has just been in the thick of every event he's played in. He doesn't, he's not someone who ever, punts a match away. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He's, everyone gets their losses here and there, but like he is ferocious in the pursuit of his wins and really focused and really just one of these very crisp players. And they talked a little bit about this with LSV in terms of how quickly he can just step into a game and go, oh, this is what's happening. Eric also possesses that quality.
Let's go to number 10. Let's take you to Europe and to a Pro Tour champion, Stanislav Sivka from the Czech Republic, as I say, 53 points last year, 15 this. The champion of Pro Tour returned to Ravnica. And BDM, I want to talk just to clarify something at home, because I got emails from a few people when we unveiled the rankings, and they said, so does that mean that Sivka's like defending his 30 points from last year? So is he going to just fall off? And no.
His Pro Tour victory and return to Ravnica was the first Pro Tour of last year. So sort of the parallel Pro Tour to the Pro Tour we're at right now.
But the answer to the question is no. He does not defend his points, because the points he got last year, the total, the 53 points, they degrade over the whole year in terms of the percentage of pro points that have been given out. So let's say 5% of the whole season is given out at this event. 4 or 5%. That means 4 or 5% of his 53 total from last year will go away. So you won't see Pro Tour champions who spiked a big event suddenly just falling off the radar entirely. That's not how it works.
But those points are crumbling a little bit.
Oh, all the time.
And a fine dusting around the floorboards.
Yeah, when you're sitting at home if you're sitting at home in the Czech Republic and there is a Grand Prix in Brisbane that you are not at, when you wake up on Monday morning, there'll be this little dribble down. So that's your top 10 nonetheless. Now, one of the most famous names in the game, if you don't know this guy, I'm guessing you're kind of new. So we have Brian Kibler is our number 11. Coming right up, here he comes, Platinum Pro, 9 points this season.
Platinum smile.
Well, absolutely. 2 Pro Tour titles, never mind top 8s. He's got 5 top 8s. And I think the Pro Tour is just a better place for having a Brian Kibler on it.
Absolutely. I mean, just a great deck builder. He really is like the people's champion in some ways. I mean, he builds the decks and plays the decks and wins with the decks that I think, if you're sitting at home, I mean, and you guys know this because you're sitting at home, he plays the decks you want to play. And he plays with the cards you want to play with. You know what I mean? He finds the creatures and he attacks, and he's been doing this before it was cool, as they say.
Sure. Do you think we will see him? Is there room for him, perhaps I should say, to be playing a red-green Domri Raid Xenagos?
I think
like Huntmaster of the Fells equivalent type thing.
I think that when you're talking about Brian, you have to assume that he starts out his deck list with a forest, a plains, and a mountain, and then maybe they get shaved away and replaced. But you know what I mean? Like, he starts in that section of the color wheel.
I'm going to take you back to the Czech Republic now for one of the all-time great Grand Prix stalwarts. And number 12 on our list is Martin User. There you see him. Now, I beg your pardon, 17 Grand Prix top 8s. Most Magic players will not attend 17 Grand Prix in their Magic career. He's top 8'd 17 of them.
And won 4 of them. He's won 25% of the ones he's top 8, a little less, but just ridiculous. Where was Martin for you when you were doing your Hall of Fame balloting last year? Because I felt like for a long time, as you're looking 2-3 years in the future, certainly I was like, and then Martin will be in, and and then. I mean, he has this just incredible resume. He's this incredibly dominant European player, but falls a tiny bit short on the Pro Tour top 8s with just the 2 top 8s.
I really hate that you asked me that because I was very quiet on Martin User last year, or the season just gone. No, not for me.
Yeah.
Because he is precisely that one rung below the best of all time, where you don't win Pro Tours.
And let me ask you: is it
I feel terrible saying that?
But is part of that because you feel like there's still untapped greatness in Martin?
Yes. I just wish he'd care a little more. He seems to do it so effortlessly. He wanders in. He came to a Grand Prix 6 weeks ago, M14, and just went. Yeah, kind of feels like this is my GP to lose because basically there aren't enough people in the room who can beat me. He made the top 8. He got his double opportunity deck, ran into the fastest deck in the top 8 and just got undone. But his difficulty is he knows he's better than almost everyone.
Right.
But hasn't yet made himself better than everyone, which the 3 members of the Hall of Fame here, at least once, have.
Right.
So... there you go. Let's take you to 13. It's David Ochoa. By the way, if you're wondering what's happening to the live Magic, we have got the last result in, which means it won't be long before pairings for round 2. So you're not missing any live Magic, that's for sure.
Are we going to power through this, or are we going to come back?
Well, we'll carry on and we'll see how they go.
Okay.
We'll know when the pairings come along. The top 25 aren't going anywhere. They're all playing out there.
Not until Monday.
That's for sure. So here's David Ochoa, Channel Fireball once again. And
he's the sommelier. We talked about the limited expert, the constructed expert. He is the gourmand of the Channel Fireball team. He is in charge of finding out where they're going to eat and what they're going to drink.
That is true. I was amazed to find, though, that when I go to Louisville next week for the Grand Prix, he will go to KFC with me. I'm like, really? I thought I'd have to pay you to get that photo opportunity. But no, he's like, fried chicken is fine. So that's David Ochoa. We bring you all the hard stats here on MagicTheGathering.com. Who is number 14? It's another American. It's another Pro Tour champion in our list. Number 14 is Craig, King of the White Weenie Deck, Wesco. And of course, he is your champion, defending champion from the last Pro Tour Dragon's Maze.
Yeah, I mean, was your reaction when the Theros spoiler came out and Soldier of the Pantheon was revealed, was your first thought Craig Wescoe?
Yes.
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 Fabled hero.
It just was.
Wingsteed Rider.
Kind of closely followed by Paul Rietzel.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of my thought on him. Now, 15 is someone we've already seen at this desk today, and there you see him at the big video wall. It is Luis Scott Vargas, Hall of Famer, one of the all-time greats, well and truly.
It's so funny. I mean, the Hall of Fame is about accomplishments, and you almost feel bad talking about how beloved Luis is in regard to his Hall of Fame induction. You it's almost like you could split him into, red Luis Scott Vargas and blue Luis Scott Vargas.
Right.
And both of them could go into the Hall of Fame.
Sure. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Community and team building and writing and videos and commentary and then there's just this stone cold killer.
Yeah.
Who, has one of the best 3-year medians of all time.
That's very true. Next up, number 16, Channel Fireball. Again, it's Mr. Owen Turtenwald, your 2011 Player of the Year. Oh, oops.
Yes.
The once and maybe future Channel Fireball. Who knows? That's the thing with these
They're
teams.
so 90210, these kids.
Oh. The thing is, if at home you're thinking, okay, so what is it with this team business? So the thing is, it's always to your advantage to test with people better than you, smarter than you, people with more experience than you. And the best pros know that they can maximize their chances by being in a group. But the groups are very fluid these days.
Sure, and also it's about a chemistry, right? It's about an alchemical mixture of players that can be greater than parts. And Owen has really found a home with the Star City guys. I mean, he feels really connected to them, I think, and feels really a part of that team in a way maybe he didn't always feel on the Channel Fireball team. Also helps he's a little older and wiser.
Yep, for sure. 17, we're going to take you to Asia. We're going to take you to Li Shi-chan. There you see him, the Hong Kong gold level pro. So he's qualified for all the Pro Tours here, first at Grand Prix Birmingham in 2008 with a couple of national teams. And we're going to stay in Asia for our number 18, which is Mr. Su Ching Kuo. And what a story the World Magic Cup was last year, BD.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a player who was mostly known for his Grand Prix success, well-traveled Grand Prix player on the Asian circuit and had racked up a number of top 8s, but gets the World Magic Cup as this pro with a ton of points and is his national champion and just takes the team on his shoulders all the way through. One bonfire of the damned later, they're into the next leg of the competition, and before you know it, he's winning it with his modern deck. Also worth noting, this is the player with the most pro points right now without a Pro Tour top 8 though. World Magic Cup champion, but still waiting for that breakthrough on the Pro Tour. Will he get it this season?
19 is Raphael Levy of France. He's a Hall of Famer and a Team World Magic Cup winner. Who's number 20? Well, it's Makahita Mahara, another world champion. The hits keep on coming. Here's the next lot. Ari Lax, 21. There you see him. He's already got a 9th place finish at a Pro Tour. Looking very serious there, Ari. Who's 22? It's Alexander Hayne of Canada. 23, we go to Italy. Samuele Estrati. 24.
A couple of Pro Tour champions there.
Yeah, indeed. Here's Matt Costa, we were talking about on Star City. And it turns out that we're so generous, we're going to give you 2 number 25s because we couldn't split them. 25 is Ivan Flock of the Slovak Republic, Team World Champion, 6 national teams, mind you, and very emotional when he won Grand Prix Lisbon last year. And then, tied for 25th, the fabulous, it is so good. Team World Champion with Mike Jacob and Paul Cheon 2008 in Memphis. And that, boys and girls, is your Magic Pro Tour Top 25 ranking.